Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we try to cut through all the noise, pull out the key bits of knowledge from different sources, and hopefully give you that aha moment without drowning you in information. Today, we're heading back into some really ancient texts. We're diving deep into the story of Isaac, specifically Genesis chapter 26. We're calling this one Isaac's Trials and Triumphs, a Covenant Blessed. And our goal, our mission today is pretty clear. We want to unpack what this chapter tells us about divine promises, how our own human choices, maybe even our weaknesses, fit into that. We'll look at persistence when things get tough, really tough, and the kind of surprising power that peace and blessing can have, even when it looks bleak. It's about Isaac's journey, yeah, but also maybe what we can learn for navigating our own challenges and, receiving promises. And just, all our insights today come straight from Genesis 26, using the 21st century King James Version. Okay, so let's unpack this right from the start. Genesis 26, verse 1, boom, Isaac's facing a familiar problem, and there was a famine in the land, besides the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. It feels like history repeating itself, doesn't it?
It really does. Deja vu.
And Isaac's first move, he went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. Seems logical, right? Go where you think there might be help, or at least stability.
Absolutely. It's a practical response. Well, what's fascinating almost immediately is that God steps in. Verse 2, the Lord appears and gives a really specific, maybe even counterintuitive instruction. Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of.
Ah, okay. So not the expected escape route.
Exactly. It's a divine stop sign for the common famine plan. God anchors him to a specific place, even though it seems like there's scarcity there. And right along with that command comes this powerful, just massive reaffirmation of the covenant God made with Abraham. God tells Isaac, sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee and will bless thee. He promises the land, blessing descendants like the stars of heaven. It's huge.
Wow, all laid out again.
Yeah, but here's the crucial part. Verse 5 gives the reason. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws.
So the blessing flows because of Abraham's faithfulness.
Precisely. Which raises a really interesting question, doesn't it? What does that mean for Isaac? He's inheriting this blessing based on his father's obedience. Does that lessen his own responsibility or maybe make it even heavier?
That's a great point. It's like inheriting a legacy you have to live up to. So Isaac listens, he stays in Gerar, but then we see that human frailty kick in again. It feels really familiar. Verse 7, the men of the place asked him concerning his wife, and he said, she is my sister, for he feared to say, she is my wife, lest the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah because she was fair to look upon.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Now, if you remember Abraham's story, this is almost exactly what he did. Twice.
It's uncanny, isn't it? A real pattern of fear leading to deception in this family line, even the ones carrying the promise. Isaac falls into the very same trap his father did. But the twist comes next. Verse 8 says, after he had been there a long time, Abimelech, the king himself, happens to look out a window and sees Isaac frolicking with Rebekah, his wife. That's quite a descriptive word, frolicking.
Yet not exactly how a brother and sister behave.
Right. It's a moment of unguarded intimacy that just blows his cover wide open. And Abimelech, he doesn't waste any time. He calls Isaac in and confronts him point blank. Behold, of a surety she is thy wife, and how sitst thou? She is my sister.
Busted. What does Isaac say?
His answer is just starkly honest about his fear.
Yeah.
Because I said, lest I die for her.
But here's where we should pause and think. What does Abimelech's reaction tell us? This Philistine king faced with Isaac's deception.
Right, what does he do?
He's not just mad. He's actually concerned about the potential moral fallout for his own people. He says, what is this thou hast done unto us? One of the people might lightly have lain with thy wife, and thou shouldest have brought guiltiness upon us.
Wow, he's worried about collective guilt.
Exactly. And then verse 11, he issues a decree. Anyone who toucheth this man or his wife shall surely be put to death.
So the pagan king ends up protecting the covenant heir despite the lie. It's truly remarkable. It shows this surprising integrity and a high moral standard from someone outside the covenant line, contrasting sharply with Isaac's fear.
That is a powerful turnaround. Abimelech protects them. You'd think, okay, maybe things settled down now. But nope. Here's where it gets really interesting, because sometimes prosperity itself creates conflict, even when you're just, trying to get by. Check out verses 12 to 14. Then Isaac sowed in that land and received in the same year 100-fold. And the Lord blessed him.
100-fold. In a famine year.
Exactly. It's miraculous. The text says he waxed great, became very great, tons of flocks, herds, servants. He's incredibly successful. God's blessing is undeniable. But what happens immediately after? Verse 14. And the Philistines envied him.
Envy, that corrosive element. And it doesn't just stay as a feeling, does it? Verse 15 shows it turns into action. The Philistines deliberately went and stopped them and filled them with earth, talking about the wells Abraham's servants had dug.
Sabotaging the wells. That's serious. Water was everything back then.
It was life. This is basically economic warfare. They're trying to choke his prosperity, push him out. It's a direct attack on his resources, and in a way, his father's legacy.
And it works, to a point.
It does. Verse 16, Abimelech himself, the one who protected him earlier, now says, "Go from us, for thou art much mightier than we." Isaac's blessing has made him seem like a threat.
So what does Isaac do? Fight back? Nope. Verse 17, he just leaves. Pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar and dwelt there. But he doesn't give up. He starts redigging the old wells, the ones his father Abraham dug. Verse 18 even says he called them by the same names.
Which is so significant. It's not just about finding water, it's about reclaiming heritage, refusing to let that legacy be buried, literally unearthing past promises.
Okay, so he's showing persistence.
Definitely. But the conflict follows him. His servants dig a new well, verse 19, springing water. Sounds great. But verse 20, the local herdsmen immediately fight over it, saying, the water is ours.
Oh, come on.
Right, Isaac names that well Esek, contention. He's literally naming his struggles.
And it happens again.
It does. Verse 21, they dig another well, and the locals strive for that one too. He calls it Sitna, hatred.
Esek, Sitna, contention, hatred. What does this tell us about Isaac? He just keeps moving.
He does, and that's the key takeaway here, I think. He doesn't seem to escalate. He doesn't wage war over these wells. He keeps moving, keeps digging. Finally, verse 22, he moves again, digs another well, and for that they strove not. Success.
Finally.
And he names this one Rehoboth, which means room or broad places. He says, for now the Lord hath made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land.
Rehoboth, room after contention and hatred.
It really underscores his strategy, doesn't it? Pursuing peace through persistence and relocation, rather than endless fighting. Some might see it as weak, maybe, but the text presents it as wisdom, leading to actual space and fruitfulness.
That's such a powerful idea, finding room after all that strife. It really makes you think about, the wells of contention in our own lives, doesn't it? And what it takes to find that Rehoboth, maybe choosing not to fight every battle. So after finding that room, Isaac travels on to Beersheba in verse 23. And just when you might think he's earned a rest, God shows up again. Verse 24, that very night, the Lord appeared unto him and said, I am the God of Abraham thy father. Fear not, for I am with thee and will bless thee and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake.
Another direct reaffirmation. Even after all the setbacks, the struggles, the human failings, God's promise holds firm. His faithfulness is constant.
It shows that faith isn't just waiting passively, is it?
Not at all. It's about continuing to trust, to worship, to act. Isaac builds an altar, calls on God, pitches his tent, digs another, verse 25, even when things have been tough. It's active trust.
Right. He sets up camp, literally and spiritually.
And then comes maybe the most surprising twist in the whole chapter. It shows the undeniable impact of living under God's blessing. Verse 26, Abimelech shows up, the king who kicked him out. And he doesn't come alone. He brings his advisor Ahuzath and his army commander Phicol.
Wow, the top brass comes to him after telling him to leave.
Exactly. They travel from Gerar to Beersheba specifically to see Isaac. It's a total reversal of the power dynamic.
So Isaac must be wondering what's going on.
You bet. Verse 27, he challenges them directly. Why come ye to me, seeing ye hate me and have sent me away from you? It's blunt, honest.
Good question. What do they say?
Abimelech's answer in verses 28 and 29 is just stunning. It's a full-on confession. He says, we saw certainly that the Lord was with thee.
They saw it.
Plain as day. He continues, and we said, let there be now an oath between us, even between us and thee, and let us make a covenant with thee, that thou wilt do us no hurt. Thou art now the blessed of the Lord.
Whoa. From go away, you're too mighty, to let's make a peace treaty because we see God is with you.
It's incredible. His former adversaries, the ones driven by envy, now openly acknowledge his blessing and actively seek peace because of it. It shows just how powerful and visible God's favor on Isaac had become.
That's reconciliation on a whole new level. How does Isaac respond? Does he hold a grudge? Amazingly, no. Verse 30, he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. Then they swear oaths the next morning, and Abimelech and his men departed from him in peace.
Isaac chooses magnanimity, extends peace. It's not forced. It's a genuine reconciliation prompted by Abimelech's recognition of God's blessing on Isaac.
And then, like, perfect timing.
Right. Verse 32, the very same day this peace covenant is made, Isaac's servants rush in saying, "We have found water," in the well they'd been digging there in Beersheba.
No way.
Yes. So Isaac names that well Sheba, which means oath.
Ah, tying the water to the oath.
Exactly. And that, according to verse 33, is why the city is called Beersheba, the well of the oath. It beautifully links God's provision, water, the source of so much conflict, with the establishment of peace and covenant.
Yeah. What a convergence. Water and peace arrive on the same day.
A powerful culmination. But the chapter doesn't end quite there. There's a final note, almost like a postscript. Verses 34 and 35 mention Esau, Isaac's son. He's 40, and he marries two Hittite women, Judith and Basema.
Okay. Is that significant?
Well, the text explicitly states they were a grief of mind unto Isaac and to Rebekah.
Ah. So even after all this triumph and reconciliation with outsiders, there's trouble brewing within the family.
Precisely. It's a realistic touch, isn't it? Life goes on. Blessing and peace don't mean an end to all challenges. This hints at future family conflict, reminding us that even for covenant people, life remains complex, with new issues always emerging, especially from choices within the family.
Right. It keeps it grounded, a reminder that the journey continues. So that wraps up our deep dive into Genesis 26. What a story for Isaac, huh? He starts with famine, fear, even deception, then experiences this incredible blessing from God, but that paradoxically leads to envy and conflict.
Yeah, the whole struggle over the wells.
Right. But he keeps going, digging persistently, choosing peace over fighting, until he finds Rehoboth, that place of room.
And that persistence pays off with the reconciliation with Abimelech, who finally sees God's hand on him.
Culminating in Beersheba, the well of the oath, provision, and peace together. It really showcases God's faithfulness through it all, Isaac's maybe quiet resilience, and how obvious God's blessing can become. So here's something to maybe chew on as you go about your day. How does Isaac's story, his search for room, his persistent digging despite contention and hatred, connect with your own life? Where are you facing conflict? And what might perseverance, trust, and maybe a strategic pursuit of peace look like for you to find your own rehuv, that space where you can be fruitful? Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We really hope you found it valuable, maybe sparked some new thoughts. If you enjoyed exploring this with us, please think about rating, reviewing, or subscribing to the deep dive. It helps others find us and ensures you don't miss our next exploration. And definitely share this with anyone you think might appreciate getting well-informed quickly on fascinating topics like this. We'll catch you on the next one.